Cowabunga, y'all. Captain Beardo here. Today, I am reviewing The Truman Show. Brought to you by Colin. He's the one that suggested it, so I figured might as well watch that this week and give my review on it. This is another one that have been recommended a lot of times. Never got around to watch it, and I think even my dad had it on VHS at one point, so weird that I've never seen it. So here are my thoughts. Roll it.
Are you recording a video right now?
And ban it.
Again, I would like to thank my good friend Colin for recommending me to watch this film on Instagram. So a huge shout out to you, Colin, and this review is The Truman Show, as you can tell with the introduction / the title of the review. So Truman Show is a film that came out in 1998. Another film that came out around the time I was born, so I wasn't able to see it. And I'm pretty sure I had it on, like my dad had it on VHS, and I might have seen it when I was younger. Watching this film, I don't think I've seen it before. Sorry if I'm wrong about that, but I don't think I have. Or at least I don't remember it at all, because I had no clue what it was, and I went into this completely blind again. Never saw a trailer. Never even... all I knew was just Jim Carrey, and it was on my list to watch of Jim Carrey movies, because I know he was a good actor in it. And the film is directed by Peter Ware. Hopefully I said his name right. First off, I have to say that this movie is... the framework around the movie and how it presents the life of Truman, or The Truman Show, is really genius and really brilliant with how they use satire to bring out the jokes and kind of bring out like this world that Truman would live in. And it's really fascinating, like how as you watch the film, everything kind of unravels, and it's like you get like a question of like, why didn't anyone notice this before? Oh, that's why. And it explains it as it goes on, like, oh, that makes sense now. Oh, this is a flashback to explain this plot. Okay, that's awesome. But, yeah, the whole framework was just amazing. I liked how it opened with just like how every other TV show would open or documentary would open, where it has like the who's starring. I liked how they had Truman starring as himself, and then you see like every single other actor or actress be brought up with like their name for like the show. Then it's their name that they're labeled within the movie, but then underneath it's as whoever they're playing to be like the best friend of Truman, a police officer, or whatever. And they kind of like talk about like what like kind of like presents like what the Truman Show is as like a documentary, like they would say like on a documentary DVD, best of DVD or something like that, or like a recount episode that they occasionally do on TV shows where they're like, oh, here's everything, here's a recap of season 1, now we're into season 2. I really like that. It just made it seem like, oh, we're watching the second, like the next season of The Truman Show, not as a continuation, instead of it just picking up out of nowhere. So I thought that was really nice. I also like the detail of whenever it showed people watching The Truman Show, it had the amount of, like the number of days that it's been airing, or that Truman has been alive anyway, because it's a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week show. And I was like, that's really smart to like kind of frame it that way, to where it's like, oh, people are watching it, it's a show that people enjoy, but Truman doesn't know what's like that he's in a show or anything. And it starts off with him like just enjoying, like it cuts from the scene of like the documentary style of like the director talking about like the show and like how he created the show and things like that. Then all of a sudden it gets into like the whatever day it was for Truman, and he just like exits his house. He says, oh, if I don't see you later on, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, as he would normally do on his morning routine. Kind of like follows him throughout his routine. Then all of a sudden a stage light just plummets down to the ground. He goes over and he doesn't know what it is or anything, and then those like the brilliant thing was like, oh yeah, for the in world of like explanation of like how things happen is like, oh, over the radio we'll just have it like timed in, like, oh, sorry for that, a aircraft lost some of its parts and things like that to make Truman think, oh, it's just an aircraft that had their light fell off or something like that instead of a stage production. And then as like the movie progresses, he like starts noticing things. You can like watch him like notice things. He doesn't quite know what's going on. He thinks that people are just following him, but he doesn't realize that he's on a set or anything until he's like just starts going crazy. And I love Jim Carrey's reaction throughout the whole first half of the movie, where he's like more. This is one of his more serious roles, where he's just kind of being serious, like living his day-to-day life. He's not doing anything quite Jim Carrey-esque, like how he would in Ace Ventura or Dumb and Dumber or any of those movies where he's just kind of a goofball just going off the rails. He's being a loving husband. He's just kind of like living. He mentions that he wants to explore a little bit, and then like he's just kind of like serious about the whole thing. But then he starts like noticing, like slowly noticing things going on around him, and I love how like in order for them to like keep him there, they had to completely like have the teacher go, oh no, you can't search anywhere else because it's already been found. Here's the map of everything, or like subtle things like that, or like the dog barking while he's trying to get to the water and things like that. And then, as they would do with like any TV show, they kill out the father because it's like, yeah, we don't really need him anymore. We kind of need a way for him to stay on the island anyway. So let's go with the father to make sure we can keep him on the island to where he kind of has like a trauma to where he doesn't ever leave the show. And so I like how it's like, oh, okay, in the world of logic, like you'd kill off or as the TV show progresses, kind of kill people off, you bring them back or whatever. And then he like sees, I love how Truman actually like his father, who played his father, just randomly is just like walking on the streets wherever Truman notices him and goes, wait a second, what? You're alive? And then right then there, everyone just starts taking him off stage, putting him on the bus to drive him off, out of the scenery anyway. So that way Truman can't catch up to him, and like everyone's like purposely like choreographically going in front of him, cutting him off, so where he can't catch up to him or anything, which I thought was like kind of brilliantly like executed with how like they had like it portrayed. And then they go, oh sorry, that's nothing. And then like on the radio they constantly like narrate like what's going on with his life and like try to make it Truman feel like he's saying he's in an actual world and everything, and kind of like keep things good. Even like the TV shows, he's like in one of the scenes he sits down and his wife is like, oh, your favorite show's about ready to start. And then he goes, oh, I Love Lucy, same time next week, but here's this show about not wanting to leave home and things like that. And to kind of make him like want to like stay there and everything. Which I was like, okay, that's why he's never seen himself on TV or anything, is because they constantly broadcasting a fake TV station for him to watch. And then like they mention like as it goes on, like you can tell like this is another thing I've like noticed like rewatching it, is how much like often they like the wife or whoever just constantly just randomly talks about like a product or whatever, like, oh, you need your lawn mowed? Well, try this lawnmower, or this is the cocoa, the finest cocoa I've ever had from Nigeria. And it's just really like clever, like how they're like, yeah, it's a 24 hours, we don't have any commercials, so therefore we have product placement where just random people just like randomly bring up the product, or it's like in the background, and that's how they like change the advertisements around and things like that. Like the world is very like open and very makes it actually seem like a real world. And then like when the movie wants you to feel like it's a set and like you actually like, oh, it's these guys are doing this certain thing, you can kind of tell like, oh, there's a camera there, there's a camera there. Like there's the guy like, taking out his trash. There's obviously a camera there. There's like just these like random cameras, just staggered everywhere. And I think like even like throughout the movie, like Truman starts realizing, oh, there's a camera there. Oh, they're talking to me. They know where I'm doing at all times. And it's just it's like the Matrix. It's really fascinating, like how like my brain went to two places while watching this movie. First off, Matrix, because it's like, huh, he's not in a computer simulated world, but he's in a world that's simulated for how people want him to act like and things like that. And like they gave him like his wife, they gave him everything, and they even explained like, oh no, he's free to do whatever he wants. Everything is organic or whatever, but they purposely bring in like certain actors or actresses to kind of get him away from like thinking, oh, outside world or whatever, and they give him his own wife, which is kind of sad. Things like that. And then too, like, it made me think of the episode of SpongeBob where Squidward goes to his own city, to his own town, and everything's the exact same. He does the exact same things over and over. It's kind of like Groundhog Day, but I thought of that episode while watching this because it's like everything is really plain and like really neighborly and really homey. So like, it just kind of adds to the atmosphere of like, oh, what is a good TV show? Oh, it's a TV show like Full House or any number of those family TV shows that people will watch to make it feel at home. Which I thought was like, oh, okay. So there's a reason why like you kind of get that idea from it. So it's like So the best way I can describe the movie is like it's The Matrix meets that episode of SpongeBob combined together, but it's a person controlling it, creating the whole show and everything around this one guy. And I liked how they also like brought up like literally like, oh, he got a love interest at this young age, and it kind of like a flashback, and it like showed like, oh, there's this like random girl that like catches his eye or whatever, like that's supposed to be in the background, and so of course like they introduced like his wife right then and there to kind of keep his eyes off of her, and then all of a sudden the lady's gone. That's supposed to be in like the extra, and then later on like every time like she like shows up, they escort her off, and like they show like her getting escorted off, which I thought was like, wow, that's actually really genius. Like there's actually people like they're like showing that people have been trying to tell Truman that he's on a show, that this is not real or anything like that, and then they even like. Then like she's like even like saying like, oh, this is fake, you're on a show, da da da, and like she's like, I've never seen this guy in my life, and the guy's like, I'm her father, he does this all the time, and then he goes, well, I'm going to take you to Fiji, and then that part where he says, we're going to go move to Fiji, that kind of circles back to Truman wanting to go to Fiji because he keeps talking about like to his best friend and everything like that. And like why he wants to travel the world is to find this one girl that I kind of fell in love with, locked eyes with, and everything like that. Which I was like, that's really good storytelling. Like you actually like makes it actually feel like a TV show as well, because it's like, okay, this is here, this is there, and like it kind of retcons things. It tries to like bring things in, which I was like, huh, that's really fascinating. And then then because Truman saw his father on the street. They try to like make him like they go, all right, he's realizing what's going on, so let's kind of like make sure like we block the traffic, make traffic jams for him, make sure the bus doesn't go anywhere, nothing like lets him go anywhere, and it kind of just falls apart to where he has to meet up with his friend, and then his friend just completely like obviously is like talking to him, being that one like good friend that you see on like a good TV show, a family TV show, where he's like constantly like saying like good things. It's like supposed to be very, very friendly, very like just that one character that you see in a TV show that's just giving like the good moral lessons of the thing. And he's obviously supposed to be the person that like, kind of like really plays his father a little bit and things like that. And then he goes, "Oh, I found your father, by the way." And then like it pans to his like the character that the actor that played his father, and that's how they like retcon him like, oh, he's not dead, he's actually alive. And they have like another. Then they break the movie up by like showing the director talking to the good interviewer and things like that, going, "Yeah, this is my idea." Like he just has amnesia. He's just like kind of like fully like bringing out like, oh, this is actually how a TV show would work. This is, and then like every other scene they also like kind of break it up with like showing the people on the outside watching it. Just that way you're kind of going, what is happening? This is sad for Truman because he's born into this thing. He was adopted into it, the first adoption of a corporation into it, and his whole life is not as it seems or anything like that. And that they just kind of like retcon things as soon as he starts thinking about something. They retcon his father back in to explain, oh, here's what happened, and then they even go as far as like, oh yeah, this is why this is what happened other times. Like people snuck on set to like kind of throw him off, but we were able to take care of him, and then it like shows like scenes of like a guy jumping out of a present to scare him, things like that. But as the film keeps going on, Truman like realizing more that it's not just some of the people in town that's following him or things like that. It's everyone. Just like how he first he just thought it was just some people because he's like, oh, there's this. The back of an elevator wasn't actually there, and they noticed that like, oh, people were like following him as he was driving in the car, and like the radio shifts, and he can hear like the people going, "He's making a left on this one street," and he's just like realizing like, oh, people are following me, but first he thinks like, oh, his friend's safe, his wife's safe, or whatever. Then he realizes as he's talking to his friend that he's kind of like, you can tell like in his facial structure that he's like, you're actually part of this. You're not my friend. You're not the person that you're acting to be. And then same with his wife. He's like you're there. You go. You're talking about Coco. What are you talking about? You know, he starts slowly like losing it and everything. And then they retcon his wife out of there and get a new love interest in. And they start like shifting things to kind of like keep him there. But he's just like, I can't take this anymore. And so he just like he hides in the basement. He escapes by like tricking the cameras, figuring out what the cameras are, and he escapes and gets on the water. And then they're trying to like keep him there, so they turn on the weather, and he kind of like he just keeps going. He's like, I can't be afraid of anything anymore. I just gotta venture out and do my own thing. He comes to the end, and I love like the very end of it, like how he like gets out of like how he runs into a wall and is like, I'm at the end of it. What the heck? He gets out. He's like looking. He's like sees a staircase. He walks up, and the director just starts talking to him like, "Hey, I created this world for you. Nothing is as real out there as it is here for you." And the best way to like end the show was him obviously going, "And if I don't see you again, good evening, like good afternoon, good evening, and good night." Just smiles, and like as he does every morning that he woke up for like every episode of the show. And that's how it comes to a full circle. But I want to talk about also like as I was rewatching it, there's some things I didn't realize that happened, especially like earlier on, like the running like the advertisements, things like that. Because the first time I saw Blind, so I was like, what's going on? Why did a thing fall in the middle of the road? What the heck? And I was like following him like going, all right, no, this is not as it seems. People are following him, I guess. And then I realized, oh, it's a TV show. I didn't know it was gonna be a satire about TV show and things like that. But the second time, it's like you can blatantly tell like the wife is blatantly like just saying, oh, Coco, or advertisement, or like she like just randomly like smiles at like certain points and goes, yeah, and then like ignores what he's saying and things like that. You got like you can like actually like see the cameras, like I know it was like one in the trash can, one in the picture where the two guys like stop him, the twins that stop him to talk to him and things like that. And it's just like that's really subtle, like how they actually like made it subtle for him to think that that's the real world, and like the production and things like that. I was like, wow, this movie is like stroke of genius with how they presented, like where the cameras were, and they used like most of like the camera angles throughout the whole movie is pretty much like camera angles that they would in a regular TV show and things like that, like with the necklace, things like that. Which I was like, that's really fascinating how they like could build like the world around like the cameras that they have around stage. So instead of like movie logic and things like that. So I thought that was really cool. And then, like I said, like the product placements, they're like just so, like those little key things I didn't catch. Like when he's like looking through like the wedding album, I didn't catch it the first time, but like the second time, he was like flipping through and goes, "Mount Rushmore's a lot smaller than I thought." And then they brushed off. It was like, "Oh yeah, it's always smaller." And they just keep going because it's obviously it's a background prop that they took to like make him feel like he's traveling around the world a little bit and things like that. I was like, huh. And then then it goes back to like him like looking through it, and this time like he notices like what's on their wedding day and things like that. And he notices like that his wife has her fingers crossed, and like just like the subtle things that like she keeps saying, and like what people are saying, or then even like when he's like driving around going crazy, kind of being a little bit Jim Carrey-ish, but not full Jim Carrey, is just like driving around. Then like he gets stopped by like the police officer saying, "Hey, you're in a nuclear zone." Then Truman goes, "Oh, okay, we'll stop. I'll stop here. We'll go head back." And he goes, "Good job, Truman." And then he notices like, "Oh, how did the police officer know my name?" And they like just subtle things like that. I was all like, wow, they actually fully like did like subtle things to make it like that you're watching it, you're like, oh, I didn't notice that before, that they would make into like a TV show style before. Like you're like, huh, now that I know that this is all make believe world, that they're actually like putting people in like the backgrounds and things like that, you're just like, huh, that person is the same as last time. And they made it feel like it was an actual set. They did a good job with that. But yeah, Jim Carrey is a really good actor, and I was really surprised that he wasn't as Jim Carrey in this movie as he typically is in like Ace Ventura again. But I really liked his job in this. Like he actually was serious. The movie was very satirical in the sense that it's like this could actually, hopefully it doesn't happen in the real world, but it could actually happen where someone just adopts and a whole filming corporation could just take over a kid's life. It's just really, really well done, and like really like it's a stroke of genius. So all in all, I really like the movie. I don't think I have an actual downside for this movie. I don't think so. Because I do like how it like kind of like feels like the 80s or like the 60s. It's like very homey and things like that. Very much like Full House and things like that. And like how they like split it up and things like that. I don't think there's actually anything I don't like about the movie. So with all that said, I won't give it a rating of that beard. It's a genius beard. Look at that brain in that beard. And there you guys go. So if you like this video, please leave a comment down below of another film that you would want me to watch. Like I said, I'm having a blast watching these films. Last review I did was Independence Day. This is Truman. So I don't know what next week is going to be. So if you want to leave a comment down below of a movie review that you guys think I haven't seen, or just a movie that you guys want me to do a review for next week, I'll be happy to do so. Please keep them coming. I'm having a lot of fun watching these films and keeping this kind of challenge going. And I plan on doing this every single Monday for the foreseeable future. So leave a like, subscribe for all these wonderful videos I'm making. It does help out the channel, and even ringing that bell. Just please share with friends. Help this channel grow. I want to do my best to bring good content to you guys. I wouldn't be doing this if I didn't think it was a fun hobby, and I want to keep it as a hobby and keep things going for you guys. So please, and thank you for watching my content and leaving suggestions and liking the videos. It does mean a lot. Yeah, I think that's enough of me rambling on for today. So with all things, feel the beard and deuces.